What is up, everyone? My name is Joseph, and welcome back to another episode of Scape Break. And today on the show, our guest today is the man who has restored my faith in the YouTube comments, Mudkip.
Hey, how you doing?
Now, a lot of people who are watching this probably know who you are, obviously. But just for those who don't, do you want to give a brief description of the type of content you make, what you like to do online?
Yeah, for sure. So my username on YouTube is Wild Mudkip. I make YouTube videos of old school RuneScape. It's a wide variety of content. I do guides, hardcore Ironman, all sorts of stuff, and it's been a lot of fun. I started in September, really, and it's been uphill ever since. And I started streaming on Twitch too, like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I've noticed that
And
you've
it's
been
been
streaming
of fun.
a lot more active on Twitch, which I think is I think it fits well with the type of content you make. Like you make a lot of I don't know, you make a lot of progress, but just a lot of in general, like different types of variety content. So I feel like Twitch is a pretty good place for that as well. So, but yeah, I have
Yeah,
noticed that.
definitely with the progress.
Yeah.
People like watching progress on Twitch.
So you mentioned like you've started more or less started, in September where you took it, I guess, a little bit more seriously. But you do have videos dating back a little bit past that. So towards like, I guess, the very, very beginning of when you started making videos, what was like the main thing that got you into it? Was it just you got inspired by other people, or was it just you wanted to, I mean, like me, if I'm going to use me as an example, I just like to talk. And that was kind of what got me into it in the first place. What kind of made you want to, press that record button for the first time?
Oh, geez, I try not to think about those really old videos because they're really cringy looking back at them. Um, Probably just like I don't know. It's always been like fun to make videos since I was a little kid. I was always trying to like mess around with the video camera, and I have like really old videos on really old YouTube channels of me playing from like 10 years ago or something, which you'll never find, by the way. If you no matter how hard you look, you'll never find it. But yeah, I've always just been interested in that kind of stuff, and I've always had ideas from seeing other YouTubers, and it's fun to make those ideas into videos.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that point. Was there any type of like specific style of video that you tried to gear yourself towards, at the start? I mean, now you do, variety progress content. You have your hand in a few different buckets now, but when you started, was there one specific type of content you wanted to make, or you just wanted, you just had this idea and just decided to, make content?
No, there's nothing specific at all. It was completely all over the place.
Would you say that that's changed more now? Like you have a specific style of video or type of video you enjoy producing more now, or is it still kind of the same, just general? Like I just like making content in general, or is it more specific now, more focused?
No, definitely over time, I've learned more of like how to make videos, what style of videos I make. I do a lot of voiceover stuff, so I'm not really used to doing stuff live as much, which I'm trying to get more into, like recording stuff while I'm streaming on Twitch. But yeah, I mean, I have like series now, like the Hardcore Iron Man and some like weird like top 5, top 10 videos, which kind of like a series, not exactly a series, but sort of.
What was the hardest thing for you to kind of learn? What was the learning curve there? What did you find the most difficult in terms of from then to now?
Probably the only real tough thing is just figuring out what works. It's a lot of guess and check. So
Mm.
you make a video, see how people respond to it, see how many views and likes you get, and if it works, then try to imitate what you did that last time. If it doesn't work, then try something new.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it feels like, halfway through about, or not halfway through, but, last September, you really found a good niche and you hit that really well. I think the first video that I found that kind of more or less started it all was the AFK alt types video that you made back in September.
Yeah.
That video did really well. And I've seen you made other videos in that style since then. Was that kind of like a conscious choice? So was that one of those things that you were testing out? Like one of those styles, or did that just happen to do really well?
It just honestly happened out of nowhere. I wasn't really thinking about it. I'm just like, yeah, I'll just make another video today, and it just happened to have that happen to it. And I think that's the first video where I used that iconic blue thumbnail,
Yep.
and it kind of stuck ever since.
Now you definitely have a very distinct thumbnail type, which I think is very important. I think it's very underrated for people trying to make videos, but no, you definitely have that thumbnail type branded. And yeah, I looked back and it does start at that video. So, I mean, it's worked. Were you surprised when that video did so well compared to, you know, the videos before it? Like that video, I think is what, 130,000 views now. Were you surprised when that one took
Is it
off?
really?
It's something around there. It's
I was, yeah, I was surprised. I never really expected that ever. The first video that really blew up was a herbivore hunter guide, which was I think that's the first one to make a guide on it. It was like I posted it like 2 hours after Fossil Island came out, and that one got like a few thousand views, which that was a lot for me at the time. You know, having like 100 subscribers. I think that's what really kicked it off. But then I posted that the 5 AFK alt thingy a couple days later or the day after or something, and then like it's like you get a successful video after successful video all in a row, and it's just a snowball effect.
yeah. And I think that style of video with at least the AFK alt type is interesting because it's not something that's super obvious. Because I mean, RuneScape's been around forever, and you know, old school RuneScape has been around for now what, 5 years, and you know, a lot of things have been done. So I think with that specific video and the videos that you've made around that topic since then, it's hit a very interesting and more or less unique niche. So I think, you know, obviously it wasn't apparent, you know, when you were making it, but like it's done well, and it's been it's interesting. Like I love that style of video, and that's not something that I would think I would want until I see it. So it's
Well, thanks, dude. Yeah, I feel like Altscape is a pretty big topic these days. A lot of people have alt accounts, whether it's for money making or just an Ironman on the side. I feel like most people play more than one account.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the shift it's definitely been more in recent times, that shift from just main account to alt account. So jumping on that style of content is super interesting. Like I know you do a lot of stuff with EVscape or EasyScape.
Yeah.
I always get those two confused.
EVscape. EasyScape, I think he's like a speed
He's a speedrunner, yeah.
I don't know how active he is though.
But he has a bunch of videos recently of more of alt stuff, and those videos tend to do really well. And it's really interesting to see the shift in focus and the shift just from the general public. And I mean, I don't want to say it started with your video, but that time frame is definitely when that started to kick off, based on, you know, from what I've experienced personally. So yeah, definitely a good time to release that video, and it's done. Your channel's done really well, you know, since then. Now, has anything really changed for you in terms of how you develop content, or just in the whole process of it? Or have you tried to stick kind of closer to the roots of when, you know, before that video released? Have you tried to stick closer to that, or have you made a point to change things, if that makes sense?
But like making the videos themselves, it's kind of changed. At the start, I just kind of randomly make the videos whenever I could. Now it's like I have a daily schedule. I'll wake up, I'll respond to YouTube comments, I'll work on the next day's video for like 6 hours or whatever, and then I'll go eat breakfast at like 5 p.m. and then start streaming afterwards. So it's definitely it's definitely become a big part of my life for sure. Everything to do with YouTube and RuneScape.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it's more of a daily thing for you, and I mean, it's worked. I mean, not a lot of RuneScape YouTubers can make like daily or regular content like that. So I think it's very good to see that you can do that, and I think it helps you quite a bit, especially with the way YouTube is kind of acts now. You know, I think it's definitely a good thing, and you seem to do it really well. You don't just push out content that's just there to be there. It still looks like you genuinely enjoy it, and I think that's important. And you know, I think it does very well, and the fact that you schedule yourself so well, I mean, I think it definitely shows. You know, the videos come out consistently, and they're still the same quality as they've always been. So
yeah, thanks, dude. I try to make quality stuff. I mean, I don't think every single video is quality, but I try to make the majority of them. I try to make everyone quality, but I don't think they all turn out to be quality, but I try my best.
I mean, it is definitely hard when you have to push out. I mean, I don't want to say have to, but when you need to, that's basically the same word. But when you push out content daily, it's, you know, that it is hard to put all of the quality control into that time frame to make, you know, the YouTube algorithm happy. But yeah, I mean, personally, from what I've seen, you seem to do it well, and it definitely works for the type of videos you make. But speaking of that, is there any like specific type of content that now that things are, you know, in a schedule, now that you've been doing this for a few months, is there any specific style of video or any series that you like more than the others? Just in terms of actually producing.
Yeah, I love making the hardcore Iron Man videos. I used to post them like when I first started. I was posting it almost every day for the first couple of weeks, and then it turned into more like every other day, and then eventually became like once a week. But now I'm trying to get back into that every other day thing for the hardcore Iron Man. And then also those like they're not top 5 lists because I used to make like top 5, top 10, but that's very subjective to everyone's personal opinions. So I just started making them like lists of 5 of this, 5 of that, rather than calling it top 5 or top 10 or whatever. I like making those too. I think people enjoy watching them from what I could tell by the amount of views.
Yeah, no, I agree that they are subjective, but I mean, that's one of the reasons that I like those lists so much, because I like seeing other people's point of view. So, I mean, that might be one of the reasons I do so well, you know, because people like seeing, you know, where you're coming from. And, I can definitely see why you enjoy making that type of content. But the hardcore Iron Man content for me, I don't want to say it's confusing because personally, I can never play a game mode where I can't die. I died too much in this game, but no, you put out content on that quite a bit, and it's been pretty cool to see your progress on that. But man, I don't know how you could do it so much. I would have died way before where you're at now, but at least you're enjoying it.
You gotta play it safe. There's no shortcuts you can take on hardcore Iron Man.
You don't understand how I play this game. I will look away from the screen for 2 seconds and then look back and I'll be dead. Like I'll be doing something super safe. On my regular Iron Man, I think I died. This is embarrassing to admit, but I died 3 times to Twisted Banshees within the span of 10 minutes. Oh
my God.
It's bad. My attention span doesn't suit hardcore Iron Man very well. But yeah, no, it's kind of getting back on track. Like it's great to see where your channel has come from and where it kind of is now, in its current states. Do you have any like specific plans for the future of your channel, just in terms of where you want to take it, or are you kind of just playing it by ear at this point?
I'm really taking it day by day. Like there's some days where I'll sit down, it'll be dark and stormy outside. I'll be like in a depressive mood, and I'll be like, I have no video ideas for the next week. What am I going to do? And I just sit there and brainstorm. Then I come up with like 10 ideas, and suddenly I'm like super far behind on videos. So it always works out though. Yeah, just taking it day by day really though.
Do you think Twitch, streaming more on Twitch has kind of changed your focus at all? Or is Twitch kind of like an extra addition to the content?
I'd say it's more of like an extra addition. Like I said, I do want to start using more live clips and record myself while I'm talking on Twitch, because I started doing that a couple, like the last hardcore video. I put in some more like live commentary clips, and it's easier to edit that way too. So I think it's gonna affect it a little bit. And a lot of people, there's like a community on Twitch. It's really cool. Like the same people come by every day, say hi, they comment on the videos, and it's cool like meeting people.
Yeah, I agree. I have I don't want to say forced. I've been streaming on Twitch more just due to personal schedules, and I've noticed the same thing. And Tom Gunschilly mentioned the same thing in the last interview. Like it's such more of a tightly knit community on Twitch. You know, you build this, for lack of a better word, a family of people who come by every day, people you see and you're familiar with, and it's really cool to see. It's definitely a different dynamic than YouTube, but it's definitely very interesting and enjoyable in its own right.
That's a very good way to put it. I like that term, family. That's a really good way to put it for sure.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting type of content, and I look forward to see where you can take that with your, mixed in with all of your other content. Is there anything else, just in terms of content, anything specific that you're excited about in the future, just in terms of styles of content or videos you have planned?
Don't get me started. Group Iron Man. That's the one thing I want to come out. That's the only thing I could ask for. I know a lot of people don't really care because it's like, it's another Iron Man mode. You're not going to find a group or something. You don't have friends. But like, for me as a content creator, it's going to be amazing. Me and EVscape, we got it in the bag.
Now it'll be really interesting when that comes out. I don't know if I'll take part in it playing it too much because I'd probably have a hard time finding a group, but I'm really looking forward to seeing people actually play it and seeing where they can go with it. And I think it'll be really cool. I can see why you're excited for it. And I'm excited to see the content that people can produce for Group Ironman. Hopefully it comes out sometime in the near future.
Yeah. Probably after mobile. Well, for sure after mobile. I think it's something to do with the engine. All the engine developers are working on mobile, and afterwards they can possibly discuss Group Ironman. I think I heard them say something like that.
Yeah, I think they meant it has to do with like that is kind of grouped in because there's a clan system they want to work in, and that whole like group system I think is all part of the same part of the engine. But I mean, I don't know anything about that. I just repeat what I hear on Q&As. But no, that'll be definitely an exciting time for content. So yeah, I mean, those are really all the questions I had in terms of, what your content is and where it's going. It's definitely interesting to see your point of view. I love hearing other people's point of view on, a lot of the things I ask, like the motivation behind it and, all those different things. So it's been interesting hearing what you have to say about that. So now let's get into the game. Let's get into RuneScape a little bit. Let's start off with some just generic questions. What actually got you into RuneScape? Like what keeps you coming back and what got you interested initially? Is it changed over the years? Did you get interested for one reason and now you're into it for a different reason? Like what's the interest level there?
Oh boy, I got started when I was a little kid in elementary school. Is a friend showed me the game, not like the ODS, but like one of my friends showed me the game, and we started playing together, and we played together for like probably a good year or two before he eventually faded away from the game. But over the years since then, I've been playing since '05, and I never really had more than like a month away from the game. Honestly, I know a lot of people take breaks from the game, but the game just never died out for me. In 2000, late 2000s, I was playing MapleStory on and off for a few months, but I was still playing RuneScape the whole time. And RuneScape has always been like the only game I've really ever played on the computer, at least.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate with that. Have you has the reasons that you played that, like, what were the reasons that you initially started enjoying it? Was it the types, like the exact type? I mean, you mentioned you play MapleStory, and both these games are very grind heavy or grind focused games. Yeah. But what specifically about RuneScape got you interested in the play style?
I think originally it was just how fun it was to be with friends and stuff, but over time, it's been nowadays it's more about the XP grind and no XP waste. But I think at the lower levels, just seeing the levels go up so fast makes the game so much more addicting, and it feels really satisfying to see all the gains, and you just want to keep it going.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can relate with that, especially in like the current mindset of old school RuneScape specifically. There is such an efficiency focus, but there's a lot more of a serious focus, I think, now, because a lot of the user base, just age wise, is older and more mature. So you see a lot of that XP focused play, and I definitely think it's an interesting change of pace.
I feel like a lot of the player base nowadays is a lot of the same players that used to play back in like 10 years ago. So I feel like it's literally all the same people playing, just older now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm a good example of that personally. Speaking from personal experience, I played it back when I was a kid, and now, I'm back with a much more mature mindset, I guess, about that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely different communities from back then. Now this is a question that has, I don't know, it's very relatively specific to you, but I want to ask you about how you got the name Mudkip, because not how you came up with it, but it's a very common word. It's the Pokemon's fairly popular. Did you just happen to randomly get it? Did you get it back in the day, or was it just maybe one of the name cleans that they've done recently? Like, how'd you get the name Mudkip?
Okay, so I think it was like originally when they first released the old names. It was in 2015. Well, maybe it wasn't the first time, but it was like early 2015. And I woke up one day, I go on my computer to log into the game, and I see the update or whatever, and it said that the names like M and N were released or something. and it was posted 1 minute ago. So I go to change my name, and like I'm rushing to do it because I really want the name Mudkip. My old username was related to Mudkip. Wasn't my first username, but my old one was had Mudkip in it, and so I go change it to Mudkip, and I got it, and I log in, and my private was on, like it usually was back then, and I get like 4 people messaging me trying to buy my name for me. Like, nah, bro, I'm good.
That's crazy. No, I've
So I just got really lucky.
yeah. I have a similar experience, except my name's definitely not as like not as a popular word. I had to have either like numbers in my name or like replacing like zeros or O's for zeros for the longest time until finally the name got released. And no, I can relate with you on the good feeling, because once you get that name, it just feels right.
It's a great feeling, man.
It definitely is. So my next question is one that I like to ask everyone. Like I like to hear a lot of different opinions on this. But if there is one major thing, whether it's failed a poll in the past or it's just a suggestion that you have thought of, if you could just put one thing into the game or change one thing in the game without a poll, what would it be?
Well, I think you know the answer already, but group Ironman for sure. That's the only thing I would really want to be in the game mainly. The only major thing. Oh, I want it to come out so badly, man.
No, I think it'll definitely be interesting when it releases. The amount of like metas that will like introduce and open up, I think it'll be similar to when Iron Man was released, I think, in terms of just discovering everything new, because you don't just have your own stuff to worry about. You have someone else who can do something separately that can speed up something else, and all of those methods I think will be really interesting when they're released.
I was thinking of like weird methods you could use with group Iron Man. Like, for example, if you want to rush someone to 91 rune crafting for double natures, you could have like, if you had a group of 5 people, you could have one person making the runes and have like the other 4 people like run the runes to that person, run the essence to that person, and you could like get really fast levels that way. Like things like that, I feel like it'd be really cool to see what people do in group Iron Man.
Yeah, definitely, and it'll be really interesting to see how that teamwork, I guess, plays out. Because I mean, you're definitely going to have people who just fall off in your team, so it'll be interesting to see like what the top level is, I guess, of like the group Ironman, to see where the point that people fall off is. I think that'll be pretty interesting too.
Yeah, when you make a group, you have to make sure that you're with people that you completely trust and not just stop playing after a month.
Yeah, definitely, because that could just completely ruin the whole game mode. But I mean, we'll see what happens. We'll see what they put into play, maybe as like safeguards against that, or whatever they end up doing with that.
I feel like it's kind of like a restriction of the game mode. Like with hardcore Iron Man, it's like, if you die, then the game mode's over for you. With group Iron Man, if your group member quits, then the game mode's over for you. I feel like it's kind of that type of restriction.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I do think like one like mental difference will be, it's not your fault, similar to like dying on a hardcore from a DC. Like that'd probably be a pretty depressing feeling. I would imagine, like dying or like
way to go.
Losing your game mode to something that isn't your fault. But that's also another thing that scares me with hardcore Iron Man, so I give props to you for being able to do it, put up with it for so long.
It's just a risk you gotta take with it.
That's fair. On that note, do you think you would continue your Iron Man if it did D hardcore?
Yeah, at this point, fingers crossed, if I did die, I'd still continue it. I would keep on playing until when they announce group Iron Man, and after that, I'd probably never touch the account again once I started group Iron Man.
That's fair. Well, let's hope it's in the near future, or let's hope you don't die in your hardcore. Either one of those, I guess, would would be good there.
Yeah, it is what it is.
So, I mean, you do play in your hardcore quite a bit, but you do a decent amount, I would say, on your main as well. I mean, you keep, you have a few series that relate to it about, keeping the bond, and you have a few PVM focused, I would say, learning to PVM.
Oh, jeez.
So I have a question that I have a question that actually fits kind of that style, I guess. So from someone with like your experience, what would you say is your opinion on like the direction of endgame content in Old School RuneScape? I think in general it does have a pretty positive vibe, but what your opinion be on it from someone who's, I guess, newer to the whole end game PVM aspect?
I'm scared of power creep. I mean, especially with the blowpipe, it's definitely not really an old school feeling type of weapon. It makes a lot of things pretty easy to kill, like the fight caves and stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I like the blowpipe, but I'm scared of power creep. Like with Raids 2 coming out, I'm sure the weapons will be super expensive, but like that might make the original Raids weapons super cheap or a little bit cheaper. And I don't know, power creep just seems like a really scary thing, especially like how it affected RuneScape 3. I don't want that to happen.
Definitely. And it's always like a touchy subject with people because, you got to find that happy balance of, actually giving increasingly good content for, to give people a reason to do it. But then there's the drawbacks of you don't want to just make all old content pointless. I mean, there's, even with Vorkath, like personally, I find Vorkath to be very fun. And I think it's a good design of a boss, but then you have certain uniques that just don't pan out. And yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. And there's that balance of do you make something good or do you make it bad? And you got to find that middle ground. And, there's some things like the blowpipe that don't find the middle ground. They just blow past the competition. And I can see where you're coming from and, being scared of that because I think that's definitely a valid concern. I think a lot of people are worried about that same thing. But yeah. What do you think about just in general the design or like the difficulty of bosses? Do you enjoy the different mechanics they're adding in now compared to like I guess the old school style of bosses, if you can call them that in comparison? Do you find it more enjoyable? Do you find it increasingly difficult, or like where does your enjoyment lie in terms of like I guess the newer bosses like a Vorkath or a Zulrah compared to some of the older bosses, even like God Wars bosses? Like where on the spectrum would you say that you enjoy most in terms of PVM?
I think it's pretty cool, especially with Zulrah. Like there's definitely a learning curve to it. Once you learn it, it's not too bad anymore, but it's really unique. It's not really how it was like with the old school feel, but I think it's pretty cool.
No, that's fair. I was just like seeing what people's opinions are at different levels of the game, based on what their experience is with it. So I guess on that theme of your main, what's your plans for your main now that you're focusing so much on hardcore and you've talked about that a lot? Do you have any specific long-term plans for your main, or is it more just kind of like a put on the shelf until it's relevant again?
Well, I've been putting off Western Provinces Diaries for a while. I only have the easy ones done. I shouldn't be saying that because people are going to roast me. But I need to get Elite Void and start doing raids eventually at some point. But otherwise, 200 mil woodcutting, chop every day. Eventually, it'll probably be like a year from now, if/when I ever stick with woodcutting all the way. It'll be a long time from now, but probably 200 mil woodcutting coming up next. Not too much is going on with the main though. Mostly just focusing on the hardcore. I just AFK the main like 10 hours a day.
That's
25 hours a day, actually. Yeah.
25 hours a day.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I definitely don't blame you for wanting some newer content because once you get up to those higher levels, it's nice to have that refreshing early game again, I guess you could say. And it seems like you've been having a lot of fun on hardcore, so definitely seems to be working out for you. But that is kind of all I had to talk about RuneScape related. So it was nice to hear some of your insights on that. And that does kind of wrap up all the questions I had. Was there anything you wanted to mention specifically? Anything you want to kind of shout out or talk about here at the end?
No, just thank you for having me here, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Big fan, by the way.
Well, I appreciate it. And thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a great time talking to you for the last few minutes. If you want to check out any of Mudkip's links, they'll be both on screen as well as in the description if you want to check him out on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. But that is all I have for this episode of Skate Break. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.